Welcome to Narrative 6 of Dialed In. This is a project where our goal is to extract filtered coffee to higher flavor and mouthfeel targets. We'll take an origin and we'll put it through our 7-part process where our ultimate goal is to extract 20 to 24% and have a concentration number between 1.2 to 1.4 total dissolved solids. In part 1, we'll take a look at some important details about the origin, like what's the varietals, how it was processed and dried, and we'll also take a look at the roast development. In part 2, we'll conduct some tests to find an ideal water profile that complements this origin. In the third part, we'll look for a complementary extraction device that fits well with the origin and the water profile. Part 4 and 5 represents the 6 extraction attempts we'll challenge ourselves to reach our flavor and mouthfeel targets. In part 6, we will begin to analyze and categorize the aroma and flavor. During part 7, we will reveal the most complementary recipe from our 6 extraction attempts, and we'll also reveal the roaster of this origin. Our goal again with this project is to serve a filtered coffee where the flavor is more developed and it's balanced out by a complementary mouthfeel. Here's the roasted origin and some important details about it. It's from East Africa and it's part of a co-op. This origin is made up of 4 varietals and it was grown at 1700 meters above sea level. It was also dry fermented as a whole fruit before being washed and dried. The second part of our process is trying to figure out an ideal water profile that will fit this origin and this roast degree. To find an ideal water profile, we'll perform a cupping with these 3 water profiles. Here's the composition of each water profile. These 3 water profiles have been chosen because they have been proven to be adaptable to the roast degree that we have been showcasing in this project, which is on the lighter side of the roast degree spectrum, which showcases the potential of the varietal and all the efforts that were put into the processing and drying of this origin. This is a review of our cupping protocols. It's pretty straightforward. We'll bring up the total weight to 200 grams. At 4 minutes, we'll break the crust and we'll begin analyzing the aroma. At 15 minutes, we'll clean the remaining oil and sediment from the top. At 20 minutes, we'll begin analyzing the flavor. We feel the aroma and flavor are more noticeable in different time periods. At 4 minutes, we analyze the aroma because the internal temperature is hotter and the volatile aromatics are more present at this point. We decided to taste at 20 minutes when the internal temperature has dropped. We feel the flavor is more noticeable at this point. What we're looking for is a water profile that allows the origin's flavor to shine through, where the flavor is sufficiently developed, noticeable, and transparent. What we're trying to avoid is a water profile that underdevelops the flavor and the acidity. We're also trying to avoid the other side of that spectrum, where the flavor and the acidity is overdeveloped. Comparing and contrasting these 3 water profiles, we've come to the conclusion that the peak water filter is most complementary to this origin and its roast degree. This will be the water profile that we will be moving forward with to the next part of the dial-in process. Recently, a new device similar to the Tricolate was released, the Next Level Pulsar Dripper. It has some features that could possibly outperform the Tricolate. We'll perform a head-to-head competition, analyze the results, and see if it does outperform the Tricolate. Here is a quick review of all 3 devices. The Next Level Pulsar is made of 3 components: the showerhead distributor, a cylinder plastic barrel, and a rubber circular base. Here's how the Next Level looks like when it's put together. An important detail about the Next Level is that the base is wider than the Tricolate. Another is a valve that is located at the base as well. This valve can importantly control the opening and closing of the decanting process. Another important attribute of the Next Level is that it can perform 2 different extraction styles, percolation and full immersion. In the upcoming head-to-head competition, we will perform our hybrid full immersion and percolation style with the Tricolate and perform a percolation and full immersion with the Next Level. Here is the extraction recipe and protocol that we will perform with all 3 devices. Each will have the same dose and yield. For this test, we will be using a washed Colombian coffee, the varietals an Ethiopian heirloom. We will be using the same water, the Raw Lotus cupping recipe number 2. For the Tricolate, we will perform 1 bloom and 1 pulse pour. For the Next Level percolation style, we will perform 1 bloom and 3 pulse pours. And for the Next Level full immersion style, we will perform 1 bloom and 1 pulse pour. For each device, we will also rotate the bloom to saturate all the grounds. For the Tricolate, and the next level percolation style, we will be using the same grind setting, 7.9. And for the next level full immersion style, we will be using a coarser grind setting of 8.1. With the trichlate, what we'll do first is add 33 grams of water, and then we'll physically rotate the device to saturate all the grounds. From previous experiences, we have to rotate the device aggressively to ensure all grounds are saturated. After 45 seconds, we'll bring up the total weight to 200 grams. This will conclude the trichlate extraction protocol. Here is the extraction protocol for the next level percolation style. For the bloom, we'll bring up the total weight to 33 grams, rotate the device, and let it steep for 45 seconds. During the bloom, the valve is open, but once we're done, we'll close the valve. This allows the water to saturate a majority of the grounds. After 45 seconds, we'll reopen the valve. For the first pulse pour, we'll bring up the total weight to 100 grams. For the second pulse pour, we'll bring up the total weight to 150 grams. After each pulse pour, we'll let it rest between 10 to 20 seconds. For the third and last pulse pour, we'll bring up the weight to 200 grams. Throughout the extraction process, we kept the slurry height at a low level. Our goal was to keep it 1 centimeter high. We believe keeping the slurry height low would increase the effectiveness of the agitation every time we would add water. And doing so, we would hopefully reach more full and even extractions. For the next level full immersion extraction protocol, we will do 1 bloom and 1 pulse pour. For the bloom, we brought up the weight to 33 grams, we rotated the device, and we let it steep for 45 seconds. During the bloom, the valve is open, and then we'll close the valve. This again is to ensure that we saturate as much of the grounds as possible. For the pulse pour, we'll bring up the weight to 200 grams, and then we'll let it steep for 1 minute. We feel the method of full immersion, where the majority of the water and the coffee particles are together for a lengthy period of time, is still a viable form of extraction. Because the next level has a valve that can perform both full immersion and percolation, we felt it was important to perform both styles and see what kind of results we get. Here's a review of the recipe and the extraction protocol that we performed with each device. As you'll be able to see, each device is pretty sufficient in extracting. With each device, we were able to achieve an extraction range and concentration number that falls within our desired targets. Tasting the solution from each device, it is apparent that we did extract a good amount and we achieved a good amount of concentration. There is an enjoyable sensation of clarity in the solution with both of the next level extractions, the full immersion and the percolation. The trichlate solution tastes heavier. In our opinion, the filter is a little bit thinner, so you get a little bit more of the oils and it feels a little bit heavier in the mouth. In terms of method of extraction, we see it as a positive that the next level has a wider base and a valve, helping us to ensure an evenness of extraction. When tasting the solution of the next level full immersion and percolation, there is a sense of sufficient development. The ability for us to do 2 different types of extraction styles with the next level, and the point that we achieved similar extraction percentage with the next level and the trichlate, it gives us confidence that the next level has improved upon the designs of the trichlate. We feel we have a better chance to extract more evenly and just as efficiently with the next level. Going forward, the next level will replace the trichlate in our lineup of extraction devices that we'll test out in Origin with. We will utilize the next level as both percolation and full immersion. Returning to the challenge at hand of trying to dial in this Origin, we'll try to figure out which of these 2 devices will fit better with this Origin. With the next level, we'll perform both a percolation and full immersion, and with the Stag X, we'll perform a percolation type of extraction. Here are the numbers we achieved with the next level full immersion and percolation. Everything was kept identical except for the grind setting. We went more coarser with the full immersion. Here's a review of the extraction protocols that we performed with each style. These are the numbers we achieved. We are within our target range for extraction, however we're low on the concentration. When tasting each of these, there is good development, but it's lacking weight in terms of the mouthfeel. We feel the next level did a good job complementing this Origin. We'll next extract this Origin with the Stag X stripper, and then we'll taste each and see which one is most complementary. Here's the extraction recipe and protocol that we performed with the Stag X stripper. With the Stag X stripper and the next level percolation, we are doing 4 pulse pours, 60 grams each. This is an updated extraction protocol for the Stag eggs. This will keep the slurry level low and increase agitation, which will hopefully increase extraction. Here are the numbers we achieved, and we're within range of our extraction and concentration targets. Tasting the solution, this does taste complementary to the origin in terms of level of development and concentration. Taking a step back and comparing all three, each of these devices did a good job at complementing the origin. Each solution is very close to each other. We feel each would do a good job at showcasing this origin. In terms of which tasted most complementary, specifically about the inherent flavors and type of mouthfeel this origin has, the Stag X felt more like a natural fit. This will be the device that we'll be going forward with into part 4. We've gotten to know some important attributes about the origin, and we figured out a complementary water profile and extraction device. The next step is challenging ourselves to find a complementary recipe that would reach our flavor and mouthfeel targets within 6 extraction attempts. The plan for the first 3 extraction attempts is to try to get as close as possible to our flavor and mouthfeel targets. If we need to, we'll make big adjustments to the grind, water temperature, or dose. For our first attempt, we wanted to raise the extraction to see if there's any more development to be had. We made a fine grind adjustment from 8 to 7.8. We kept the water temperature and the coffee to water ratio the same. Here are the numbers we achieved with our first extraction attempt. Our beverage weight increased, however our extraction and concentration relatively stayed the same. We're happy we're within our target range for extraction and concentration. However, for the next attempt, we would like to taste what it would be like with a lower extraction, and we would also like to see an increase in the concentration. For the second attempt, we made a coarser setting from 7.8 to 8.1. We also increased the dose from 16 grams to 16.10. We were able to achieve what we wanted, a lower extraction and a higher concentration number. We're still happy that we're within our target range for extraction and concentration. However, there's the taste of astringency. We'll try to lower the extraction and see if that helps. We only made a coarser setting for the third attempt. We went from 8.1 to 8.2. Our concentration relatively stayed the same, however our extraction increased. We're still within our target range, however there is still a taste of astringency. The game plan for attempts number 4 to 6 is to lower the astringency while maintaining our concentration range. The adjustment we made for attempt number 4 was making a coarse adjustment from 8.2 to 8.4. A good sign is that our beverage weight stayed the same from our previous attempt, 285 grams. This tells us the degree of solubility has stayed the same. We were able to achieve what we wanted. The extraction dropped to 21.78. The concentration decreased but only to a minimal amount, to 1.23. It feels we're going in the right direction, however there's still a little bit of astringency. The game plan will be to try to lower the extraction just a little bit. Since we only have 2 extraction attempts left, we decided to do a big adjustment. We made a coarser adjustment from 8.4 to 8.7. We primarily wanted to see how the flavor and the astringency changes. Our beverage weight decreased, meaning that we weren't as soluble as before, and our concentration and extraction numbers reflect this. In terms of the flavor, it now tastes underdeveloped. The concentration level is also weak. The decision to go coarser did not lead us into the right direction. The goal for attempt number 6 is to raise the extraction and the concentration. Our goal for extraction is to get between 21 to 21.50%. For concentration, we would like to get somewhere between 1.20 to 1.25 TDS. After tasting the previous 5, we feel this is the area where the flavor and the concentration would be most ideal. The adjustment we made is a fine grind adjustment from 8.7 to 8.5. We're following one of our principles, which is that if we want to make a big change to the extraction and the concentration, we'll do a fine grind adjustment. This change is looking positive because now our beverage weight is 284 grams. We have increased the solubility again, and we were able to achieve the numbers we were looking for. The extraction increased to 21.19, as well as our concentration, which increased to 1.21. For attempts number 4 to 6, we were able to hit the targets we were looking for. We now have to begin the process of figuring out which of these 6 attempts is most complementary to the origin. Thinking about all 6 extraction attempts and retasting them, number 2, 4, and 6 appear the most complementary. They are within the range of 21 to 21.50% extraction and 1.2 to 1.25 total dissolved solids. The development in each of these attempts feels sufficient. The level of concentration also feels complementary. It carries the flavor and adds a nice longevity to it. Comparing and contrasting the 3, there is one where the level of development feels most enjoyable, and the concentration is sufficient enough to add a longevity to the flavor. In part 6, we'll break down the aroma and flavor that we perceive from the origin, and then we will reveal which extraction attempt was most complementary. In part 6, we'll categorize the aroma and flavor, but we'll first cover the aroma. We break it down into 3 stages, what we notice in the beginning, in the middle, and in the end. We'll analyze the aroma as soon as we decant the origin, when the internal temperature is at its most hottest. This is also the moment where the aroma compounds are most volatile. We'll break down what we get from the aroma in 2 different ways, in a more macro way and then in a more micro detailed way. The first sensation that we can smell is something sweet. It is then followed by a tart sensation. What we notice at the end is a tangy sweetness. At this point, we're going to move to describe these sensations in a more detailed way. In our opinion, the first sweet sensation that we notice reminds us of brown sugar. The tart sensation that we noticed in the middle reminds us of red wine. The tangy sweetness aroma that we noticed at the end, it reminds us of raspberries. Now that the internal temperature of the extracted origin is cooling down, we'll move to analyze the flavor. We prefer to analyze for flavor when the internal temperature is low because we feel at this point the flavor is more transparent. The first thing that we can taste is a tart sweet sensation. The flavor then moves to a tangy juiciness. There's the flavor quality of vibrancy that continues to the end. Between light, medium, and heavy, we would classify the mouthfeel as medium. Thinking about the flavor sensations in a more detailed way, the first one that we detected, it reminds us of raspberry and rhubarb. The tangy juiciness that we detected, it reminds us of a Zinfandel wine. That vibrancy quality at the end, we would put it in the realm of a pomegranate. Throughout the process of analyzing the flavor, we were also trying to confirm what we were detecting in the aroma, because now we're using our entire olfactory system, which allows us to better detect what we're smelling. We're going to move on to part 7, where we're going to go over which extraction attempt proved most complementary. We're almost finished with our dial-in process. We'll first begin by going over the building blocks of this origin, and reviewing the complementary components that will build up to the recipe, and finally revealing which extraction attempt proved most complementary. This origin is from Kenya, in the central region of Embu. It was sourced from the Kabugu Cooperative, a collection of small farm holders. This origin is made up of 4 varietals, Ruiru 11, Baitian, SL28, and SL34. It was grown at 1,700 meters above sea level. It was processed by first doing a dry fermentation with the whole fruit intact. It was then washed, rinsed, and dried on raised beds. The origin traveled from Kenya to Denmark, where it was roasted by Prolog Coffee. When we performed a cupping with 3 different water profiles, the peak water filter setting number 3 proved most complementary. The peak device is a Brita type filter that converts your tap water into one that is better suited for coffee extraction. We are using setting number 3 on the peak, which sits between hard and soft water. This origin paired well with the Stag X dripper, which is a percolation type of extraction device. Our goal after finding out a complementary water profile and extraction device was to look for a recipe that would get us to our targets of 20 to 24% extraction and 1.2 to 1.4 total dissolved solids. We then performed 6 extraction attempts to try to reach those targets. The extraction attempt that showcased the flavor and mouthfeel potential of this origin, as well as hitting our flavor and mouthfeel targets, was extraction attempt number 6. Here are the components of this recipe. The dose to total weight is 16.10 grams to 324 grams. The grind setting is 8.5 out of 10, and the water temperature we're using is 210 degrees. The coffee to water ratio will be 1 to 20.12. When we performed this attempt, our brew time was 3 minutes and 25 seconds, and our beverage weight was 282 grams. Our concentration number was 1.21 total dissolved solids, leading us to an extraction number of 21.19%. This concludes our journey into finding a complementary recipe for this origin. This origin is now dialed in. Before we go, we wanted to talk about some lessons learned and some adjustments that we could make in Narrative 7. We encountered a lot of astringency throughout our 6 extraction attempts. One idea that we were thinking about is brewing with a lower water temperature to hopefully avoid that over-extraction and astringency. If we encounter astringency in Narrative 7, we will make this adjustment. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.